everybody, and welcome back to another Tier List Tuesday. We're starting to roll these out even more now. Guys, we've got a really entertaining video today where we are going to be discussing the best managers in the league. And of course, being Tier List Tuesdays, we're going to have our incredible visuals on screen. I should say that we are only basing this on their time in British football. And with more of an emphasis on this season or the previous 12 months. So we're not going to look back when Roy was managing in 1928. That's not really going to cut much mustard at this point. Guys, do us a favour as well. Please hit that like button and subscribe as usual.
I think another thing to obviously point out as well is we're not going to do a cop-out. We've got to put 4 managers into each category as well. That's the added twist to this video. We can't just go, oh, they're all top managers so we don't annoy someone. We're going to annoy some fan bases. I do apologise already.
Probably. This is why I need you, Scott, because I forget the added twist. So yeah, guys, there's 5 categories. We have to have 4 managers in each category. Otherwise, everyone's going to be in B and C, so we don't offend anyone. But we don't do that on this channel. We keep it real. Right, let's jump into it. Let's get the ball rolling. And we're going to go in alphabetical order for obvious reasons. It's easier. So, Scott, we're going to start off with Arsenal, your favourite club. Second favourite club, apparently. For me, I'll give mine because I've got a feeling I think B.
Oh, I'm glad we agree, actually. I thought you were going to do Arteta dirty, but I think Arteta he's kind of been underrated a bit, hasn't he? I mean, you look at how he's got the wage bill down at Arsenal. He's brought through a lot of kids. I feel like Frank Lampard is a manager that gets a lot of credit for what he did at Chelsea with bringing through the kids and that. He's had to rebuild an Arsenal team with very little experience. And I think, he's still at the very start of his career, really, as a manager. He's a big... I
agree. And he's got silverware. Let's not forget that. So, guys, as well, we can start to move these around if we need to. So, and I think we might have to on a few of them. Scott, what's next? Stevie Gerrard. His exploits at Rangers were incredible. Unbeaten, record points tally, his defensive record. Didn't do great in Europe, and you consider what Rangers went and did against Dortmund midweek. They bossed them. And life at Villa hasn't gone swimmingly. The first 2 or 3 games, he smashed it. Now, the jury's still out on Gerrard. I've gone C. What have you got?
I'm glad you did as well. I thought because of his time at Rangers, you may have put him a bit higher. I agree. I think he did absolutely wonderful things with Rangers and he gets the credit he deserves for that. But, the Premier League it's a more competitive league. He's took over a very ambitious Villa team. And despite starting off well, there is still some questions around him.
I agree.
I think coming on to obviously their Brentford manager next, I mean, look, he's done absolutely brilliant. What's that?
I was just saying good old Frank.
Good old Thomas Frank, yes, of course. He's done absolutely brilliant with Brentford, hasn't he? Obviously getting him up into the Championship, from the Championship into the Premier League. They've started really well. They've slipped off a little bit now, but they're still working absolute wonders. I'd probably put him in the C category.
I went E.
E. Oh, shall we for now then put him in D and even it out? I think that's really harsh considering what he's done with Brentford.
I think we're going to have to go D, and I'll give my reasons as to why later that I put him in E. Wow. Yeah, we'll might have to come back to that one. Graham Potter, I've gone C. I think he's done ever so well a short time. Well, not so short compared to, obviously, managers' reigns nowadays. It's going to be very hard for Brighton to take that next step. Are they going to do what a West Ham's done and what a Wolves has done in previous seasons and get into those top 7 places? I think it's going to be difficult with Brighton. I think if we want to see Graham Potter take that next level, I think he's going to have to leave, sadly. I've gone C.
I can't believe you've gone C. I literally had him a contender for A. Top 4 with what he's done with Brighton. He's pulled off absolute miracles there. He's been linked with some of the top jobs in the Premier League as well. You cannot put him in the average category of C. This is moronic. This really is moronic.
Scott, there's a lot
lower than B with what he's done with Brighton.
There's a lot of good managers, man. There's a lot of good managers. This is going to be an hour's video. It's meant to be about 20 minutes. See, Scott, you said he's a contender for A.
I can't put him in C. I'll accept.
How can he be a contender for A? Surely the 4 managers that would be in A are unspoken.
No, I agree, but considering what he's done continuously with Brighton, I'd be putting Potter pretty much next to A, but he'd go in B. I'm not putting him in C. For now, he's going in B.
I like Graham Potter. I think he has to be C.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. At the moment, he's in B for me.
Wow. Okay. Who's next? Sean Dyche. I'm going to let you have this one.
Yeah, Sean Dyche pulling off absolute miracles with Burnley year on year. The only question you would have over him as a manager, he's never really been able to prove himself a bit higher up at the table. He's always been fighting the relegation battle. But what he's done with Burnley year on year has been absolutely fantastic. But can you put him that high when he's never actually been in the top half of the table, continuously battling those kind of positions? I feel he's maybe a C manager until he at least gets a chance at a bigger club.
I agree. I've gone for C. I thought you might put him in A as well because he hasn't had the chance to do it at the top. Moving on to Thomas Tukel. A. I think this is our first A, isn't it? Unanimous?
Yeah, I think I'd put him in A. I don't think he's necessarily the top of the A's. I think he'd probably be the one for me that would be contested with some of the B's. Obviously, great success in the Champions League.
Contested with B's? He got to back-to-back Champions League finals, and you're trying to put him on the same level as Graham? Let's move on
to Vieira.
For Vieira, I think it's just a case of, I will say this about Vieira, Palace fans, if there's any of you watching. He's really surprised me this season, and I'm not too big of a man to eat humble pie. I thought he would be taking you down by now, although he hasn't been here long enough. And you really have started to tail off lately. That top half finish isn't looking as secure anymore. He could end up finishing 14th, 15th, you never know. I've gone E.
I'm happy to put him there. I had gone D because I think there's bigger battles, but I will say there's bigger battles to fight. He's one of them in here. When I was judging it myself, I thought it almost feels a bit harsh to put him in that realm because he's done really well with Palace, but still very new to English football, the Premier League. And as you say, started off strong, but there's a bit of a question around him now.
I agree. Frank, I've gone D.
Yeah, I mean, look, he got top 4 with Chelsea, and I think he'll be obviously remembered for what he did with those kids, bringing through a lot of youth talent. Everton, he started, I mean, look, Everton, he started a bit questionable.
It's too soon.
I just think really well at the same time. He's picked up a big win, but also big defeats. And as you say, he's not had enough time yet to judge it, has he? So for me, yeah, it's too early to judge.
He also got Derby to a playoff final. A lot of people say he should have taken them up, but no, I think it was absolutely fair to put him in D. Next, we move on to Bielsa. I've gone D as well.
Again. I mean, I had put him in C, to be honest.
I've got two. See, because I've got Potter in C, so I only have one space left. And I think there's another man that's done much more in English football than Bielsa. I just think Bielsa, you've got to... This isn't a slate on Leeds. We know Leeds fans love him, fine, but they're kind of blinded by love. You speak to most fans aren't taken aback by Bielsa. He should have taken Leeds up in their first season. Fair enough, he did it in their second season. Last season, strong finish.
Fantastic.
Fair enough. But he could, if he takes Leeds down this season, which could happen, his time in England would be a failure. Let's get that right. He would be seen as a failure. So you can't be seen.
With Leeds fans, he'd be seen as a legend still, but I do agree amongst everyone else, you'd have to... And he still doesn't seem to... I know Leeds have had the injury worries. They've had, obviously, not the strongest defensively, but he still seems to throw caution to the wind, so to speak. And you even against the big teams like United, for example, like at the week, yes, they scored 2, but they also conceded 4, and some of the defending there was despicable.
They seem to be conceding 3 or 4 goals almost on a weekly basis, and I just don't think a top-level manager does that. I don't think David Moyes concedes that many goals with that Leeds team. It's just, for me, I think that's one of the reasons why he's never been at a top club. I think D's fair for this point in time, for his time in English football. Brendan, this will divide opinion, Scott. Yeah, Brendan.
Let's go on to Brendan. I've actually put Brendan into C at the moment. You consider what he's done over the last 12 months, as we said we're going to. It's been a bit of a failure, hasn't it? Yes, he delivered the FA Cup, but this season has been really poor. And again, like he did with Liverpool, there's really questions starting to come out over, can he manage any more than 3 seasons with a team without them starting to fall apart?
Yeah, I've gone B because I think people almost forget that he was at Swansea. Do you remember the football that they played?
Yeah,
he was very good at Swansea. Very, very good. Liverpool, they weren't expecting to challenge that season. I know people look back now and say, oh, well, he had Raheem Sterling. The guy was 17. Look at what's happened to Daniel Sturridge still. He got the best out of him. He had players like John Joe Shelby in midfield and Mohamedou Saka, Daniel Agger. You know, I just feel, wasn't John Flanagan right back? I feel like his Liverpool time was judged a bit harshly. But he's won the FA Cup. He's got Leicester almost 4th a few times. I've gone B. I think B's fair. And Celtic. Look what he did at Celtic. A treble. Even though Rangers weren't in the league. That's not easy. Give me B, because I gave you Potter in B. We've got to move on. We've got to start flying through a few of these.
Go away, MacBook interface. I don't know what it's doing.
Is that your porn tab? Is that the porn?
Switch back to the other screen whilst I try and solve it. It won't go away.
I think next was Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, we've got Klopp and Guardiola next. I think we shouldn't waste any more time about where they need to go. I mean, like, both of them, we know they're going to be going, both of them, into this.
No disrespect to them, because we're not spending much time on them. I just think there's bigger battles. I think, if not the 2 best managers in the world, probably 2 of the best 3, you would argue. Unbelievable what they've done over the last couple of seasons, well, 3 or 4 years apiece. Definitely A. Moving on to Ralph Rangnick. Started pretty difficult at United, but you've got to admit, Scott, I think they've taken 14 points out of their last possible 18. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 5 wins and a draw, or is it something like that? Or 4 wins and 2 draws out of 7, or something like that.
I mean, look, I've placed him where I think in his time in English football. Why are we bigging that up for Manchester United and the squad they've got? We're crediting them for what? A win against the Leeds team that can't, no offence to them, but can't defend. He's been a shambles. He hasn't done anything. I'm sick of people going, he's up there with the likes of Klopp and Pep. At the moment in his time in English football, E.
Fair enough. I mean, I was just trying to give a balanced argument.
I don't want to give a balanced view of him. Man United fans have been in my ear too much about how great this guy is. He's not. He's an E. Failure.
I also put him in E. I will make that clear. His fixture list has been very, very kind. And when he has come up against a team that has been pretty good, like, for example, Wolves, he lost at home. So, you know, the bigger tester to come, Liverpool, Spurs, Manchester City. So we'll move on. Eddie Howe, this is a C for me. I think this isn't a man that took Bournemouth from the Championship to the Premier League. Wasn't it like mid-table League One to the Premier League? Kept them there for 3 or 4 years. I know he spent a little bit of money, but it's because he was in the Premier League, he'd earned that right. And I think he started pretty well with Newcastle. Well, very well with Newcastle.
Yeah, he has, actually. And when we've been speaking about Vieira, for example, we spoke about how he started well. A bit the same with, obviously, Thomas Frank in the Premier League this season. Eddie's kind of done the opposite. And yes, he has been helped with a wad of cash, a bit like he was with Bournemouth. And I'm guessing people would argue that for Bournemouth and Newcastle. He has been helped with cash. But, of course, he's turned results around in recent times, and it does look like Newcastle are probably heading towards safety now. So, yeah, I'm happy with C. I'm happy with
C. Did anyone think after those signings that he would go on the run that he has? I don't think so. I think we all expected Newcastle to stay up, but the way they're going, they might finish 13th or 14th. You just don't know. But yeah, I think people forget his Bournemouth days far too easily for me. I definitely see. Dean Smith, he's an E for me. I mean, this guy has spent more money than Jurgen Klopp in the last, in terms of net spend in the last 4 or 5 years, or 3 or 4 years at Villa. Should have gone down if it wasn't for the fact that goal line technology wasn't turned on. Bottled taking Villa up nearly. Hasn't done well this season with Villa. Got sacked. I think he's bottom of everyone, but obviously he has to be E.
I mean, apart from obviously Ranić, I agree. He's definitely an E. There's only Ralph Ranić I'd probably put below him, to be honest. Let's move on to Ralph Hasselhood. And I don't know, I'm undecided on this one, so I'm going to hand it over to you because I could put him in C or D, to be honest.
I went D. I think he's been very, very good for Southampton, but they have got some good players now, the likes of Ward-Prowse and Brower. I can't look past the fact that even with 10 men, you can't get beat 9-0 on 2 separate occasions in the space of a year. You just can't. The Bruno Lage, the Mikel Artetas, the David Moyes, the Graham Potters, they don't lose 1-0 once, never mind twice, or 9-1. For me,
yeah, I think I could see that logic, to be fair. I really like him, and I feel if we weren't doing this 4-4-4 thing, he'd definitely be higher than D, but it's just because we made it hard on ourselves. Let's move on with Kante. I think this is quite obvious that he's our last A. Obviously, you've got to take into consideration what he's started to do with Spurs. Some would argue it's not been a massive success so far, but you've also got to consider his time at Chelsea as well. Definitely a top-tier manager.
I'm not going to add too much more. I completely agree. Coming on to Woy, good old Woy. He's in D for me because Thomas Frank. You're putting Thomas Frank ahead of Roy Hodgson. End the show. I don't want to be involved.
Based on recent history, he's gone off the screen. Based on recent history, I probably would put him below. I mean, you look at like what Vieira, unexperienced Vieira's done with Palace, how he's turned them around, an aging squad.
I just want to make this point clear very quickly. You're happy to put Thomas Frank above Roy based on this season. I want you to keep that energy for the end of the show. That's fine. I'll completely go. Am I just going to complete the rest of this by myself then? Or good old David Moyes next? I hope the Palace fans and the Watford fans and the Fulham fans and everyone that loves Roy, I hope they abuse you so much that you stop doing this channel and then it's mine. Right, let's move on. David Moyes, the last two. Are you in agreement with that? You're not putting David Moyes? Actually, B. I think that's fair. You put in Bruno B. I'd do that. I would do that because for me, that's the end result. Because for me, if you're taking the last 12 months into consideration, Brendan Rodgers doesn't deserve to be in B. You can't. We're not taking just the last 12 months. We're taking their British career, but there's a little bit more emphasis on the last 12 months. But if you are taking it on the last 12 months, he's won the FA Cup, man. Brendan Rodgers is the current FA Cup holder. What is going on? So are we dropping out of B? Because that looks a strong B. You have to change Brendan for Potter. I'm sorry, Potter's got no honours in British football. Brendan has the treble. He almost got the Champions League with Leicester. He's got the FA Cup. Come on. Do you know what? I'm just going to do it so Brighton fans can abuse you then. I don't think Brighton fans will disagree with that too much. I think they'll say, well, do you know what? Brendan's won like 12 or 13 titles in Britain. And I think we have to touch on Bruno Lage very quickly. The man is up for manager of the season. He could take Wolves into the Champions League. I think that says it all, really. I think it does. And I think obviously David Moyes as well not gave him much of a say. Crazy. But yeah, done fantastic things with West Ham and continuing to do so over not just one season. So I think that's why he has to go
into
And
B.
let's not forget, he did get Everton into the Champions League all those years ago. Let's not forget how good he was there. Obviously, they couldn't get it because Liverpool won it. But yeah, guys, we were hoping to get this video below 20 minutes, but now we've gone past that. So, Scott, do we just talk for another 10 minutes?
Well,
we failed.
Let us know your thoughts. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we shall see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Roy Hodgson in E.
Yeah, we're going to get some stick for this.